welcome to Can You Hear the Pod Tonight?
I almost wanted to say your other podcast name, Another Miserable Podcast.
Oh no, that is not what you're listening. They came here to hear about Disney movies.
They did.
Melody, not to hear about horror movies.
That would be quite a mixed audience if we had people out here that were just very...
I mean, I'm both.
Yeah, I am too, but I mean, you never know. Our listeners.
We're breaking our usual format. This usually is the podcast you come to for Disney movie talk while you hear the clink clink of our tea cups.
Tea glasses, yeah.
But we're breaking the format tonight. We just didn't feel like having tea.
I know. I mean, this is kind of like random to say, but so like I went to a coffee shop the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like maybe I should get some tea.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was actually thinking about a Christmas gift for myself when I was going there. This is around Christmas.
Oh, okay.
They had like the loose leaf tea thing, and then like I was talking to the girl there, and I realized that like people that are really true tea drinkers, they buy like the loose leaf, and then they have like that little kettle that like you know, and there was just like a whole process, and then it was kind of expensive. And she's like, oh, you also need like a weight scale to weigh out the tea leaves.
Too much.
And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Just too much.
But then I was like, wow, I feel kind of pathetic with my
I remember when I lived in Los Angeles, I went to a tea shop because I was like, I'm going to get some tea.
Was it one of those tea shops in the mall?
No, it was a standalone.
Okay.
It was actually like a tea shop that sold like Doctor Who and Sherlock merch as well.
Oh, wow. How
and
about
board
that?
games too. It was like
wait,
kind of like my idea.
Did you take me to this place?
We did go by this place because
I felt kind of like weird in there because I truly did not feel like I belonged when I walked in.
It's very much a nerd hub, but I went there to buy tea. I feel like it was probably more tea centric back in the day when I lived there. Now it's probably more board game centric. But anyway, long story short, I went to go buy some rooibos because I love rooibos.
I do too.
We should buy some rooibos. Then maybe maybe that will refuel our tea.
We had rooibos.
Drinking.
Yeah, we'll get back into it. I probably need some anyway. My voice sounds a little... a little... It's like on the brink of...
That was a real cough. That wasn't...
I know, it was real. It's like on the brink of maybe getting sick. But I've been fighting it, I think.
Right. I remember being given all of this tea leaves and not really knowing exactly what to do with it. The tea shop owner had to explain to me how I make it and everything. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But, I'm sure there's benefits.
I do love rooibos, but I mean, people in England, I feel like they mostly just use tea bags.
Well, maybe there's an English listener out there that can tell us.
If you're English and you're listening to this podcast, please inform us. How do you drink your tea?
Indeed.
And are you disgusted with the fact that we broke our format and are not having tea? But we are talking about a Disney movie today. We are talking about another... We're talking about a childhood classic for, I guess, both of us. Would you consider this a childhood classic?
I would say so.
Were you alive when this movie came out? 1992?
What do you think?
That's right. You were born in 1991? 1990?
No, 1990.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought you were like 2 years younger than me.
Well, I think...
You were like a year and a half younger than me, probably.
Yeah, birthdays probably landed different.
But yeah. So this is definitely a childhood favorite for both of us. So
for different reasons.
I feel like we kind of go back and forth. We pick one that's a little obscure, maybe, and then we pick childhood favorites to try to revigor our interest in this podcast.
Yes.
No, 1992's Aladdin. Have I even said the title yet? Aladdin. We're talking about
I feel
Aladdin.
like just singing the song Arabian Nights.
Hopefully you know what we're talking about.
Yes.
It's like, yes. There's somewhere out there who's like, yes, Arabian Nights. The Rescuers. That's
the Rescuers.
No, 1992's Aladdin, directed by John Musker and Ron Clements. Those two guys.
Yes.
So this is part of the Disney Renaissance. This is kind of like smack dab in the middle of the Disney Renaissance. So John Musker and Ron Clements, this was their second film for Disney. They kind of hit the ball out of the park with The Little Mermaid in 1989. So they were given this project. Little known history. I don't think we talked about this on the Hercules episode because Ron Clements and John Musker also directed Hercules.
Oh, okay.
But their dream project that they really wanted to get made after The Little Mermaid, and they pitched it to the head of the Disney animation department multiple times, and they kept saying no, their idea was Treasure Island in space.
That was their idea.
Yes.
I would have watched that.
Well.
Wait, did I watch that?
They eventually got it made.
That's true.
And called it Treasure Planet.
Actually, you know what? I've never seen that.
Oh. Ooh. It has its fans, apparently.
Is that...
So they pitched Treasure Planet, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was the head of Disney Animation at that time, was like, nope, that kind of sounds stupid. What else you got? And they were like, Little Mermaid adaptation? And he was like, I like it. Make that one instead. So they kept coming back to him with this Treasure Island in space idea, and he kept saying no. So they did, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and they did Hercules, and then finally actually it was before Hercules. Jeffrey Katzenberg left the studio, so he's not there anymore to say no. Eventually, they got their project lit, the Treasure Island in space, and it was like one of the biggest bombs that Disney ever had.
Oh man, that's why I've never seen it.
Yeah,
sounds like they were like, let's stick to the format of like a romance kind of being the center.
I guess so. I mean, I think they're
target little girls with their Disney princess.
Yeah, I'm sure we can get into the weeds of why Treasure Planet was not a hit. Because it does have its fans. I feel like it's like, kids that are like 20 now were little when that movie came out, so they feel about that movie the way that we probably feel about Aladdin.
Gotcha.
So now they're like, trying to bring it back, essentially. Trying to be like, oh, Treasure Planet was the best movie ever. But they did okay with themselves. They came back and did Moana, so they've got that under their belt again.
Do they keep the same animators too?
I mean, I'm sure there's like hundreds of animators who work on these films.
That's true, but we
so
watched like a little
out.
extra thing about the animators for Aladdin.
Right.
And then it was also, they were on the Moana, weren't they?
The directors were.
The directors, okay, I was getting confused.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, I don't have notes.
Okay, well, we don't have to go through notes. We're going to wing it. We're going to talk about what we like about the movie.
Right.
Let's go back to the childhood nostalgia part of it. So.
Okay. Well, sorry.
I'll go off and say kind of my memory of watching this as a kid.
Okay.
It was definitely one that like I think maybe me and my sister would watch together. My brother was never interested in this one, probably.
Really? That's kind of funny because I feel like this is more of a boys' movie.
Really?
Well, I
don't know. I mean, he just kind of wasn't into Disney stuff. I might have to ask him later and see what he did like. But I know he just loved baseball. Was all he cared about back then. Baseball movies.
Oh, baseball movies.
Yeah.
Okay. So The Sandlot, Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah. So, yeah, this was definitely one that I really enjoyed a lot. Like as a young girl, I feel like you always, or like we would imagine ourselves, me and my friends, like, which Disney princess are you? It's almost like what's your sign? What's your Disney princess? And so, like, I was always a mix between Jasmine and Pocahontas, which I don't know if Pocahontas is really considered one of the, like, all the party favors.
She's a princess.
Yeah.
She's literally a princess.
That's true. But
she's
all
the daughter of the chief.
The Disney princess, like, parties. We would have parties themed Disney princess. That's how, like, hardcore some people were.
Is it because Pocahontas doesn't have, like, a traditional gown?
Gosh, I don't know. She just wasn't, like, in the pictures with all the, because sometimes you would buy like party favor merchandise and like it was like
or is it because
Cinderella,
of racism?
Snow White. Well, maybe, I don't know.
The one Native American princess. They don't include her.
They did not, but yeah. This was before they even had Princess and the Frog. Like that was way after our childhood. Right. But yeah, so I always wanted to be Jasmine. It's just like she's got the dark hair. And just the coloring in this movie, the tiger, she had it all. And then this is...
She had a giant fountain that you could practically swim in.
She did, yes. She had, like, let those doves free in the beginning around the fountain. There was a memory in, like, 7th grade. We did this skit at school with Disney princesses. I don't know why. But... me and this girl were fighting over being Jasmine, and she ended up landing to be Snow White, and I got to be Jasmine. Because, like, my friends pretty much were like, Melody's more of a Jasmine.
Oh.
So, like, I got to be Jasmine.
Because you had luscious black hair?
Who knows, maybe. She also had dark hair.
She very pale, though?
No, she looked kind of more like a Pocahontas, but she
Okay.
ended up being Snow White.
Oh.
Nobody wanted to be Snow White back then.
I mean, nobody wants to. Who wants to be Snow White?
Snow White, like, actually, she's
Snow White is
supposed to be the fairest in the land, but
She's a woman of her time, though.
yeah,
She looks very
She has
1930s.
like the short hair too.
Mhm.
Everybody wanted
Right.
the long hair.
Yeah. No women had long hair back then.
It's true. So, what is your memory as a child watching this?
Yeah, this one is very nostalgic for me, too. I think I was, like 3 when this came out, or 4. So I didn't see this in the theater, but I definitely have, like, fond memories of watching this one a lot. Like I said, I think this is, like, there was always, like, I think with The Little Mermaid, even by the time I probably got to be, like, 6 years old, with, like, The Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast, I kind of felt like those were more aimed towards girls.
Yeah.
So there was almost this sort of, like, secondhand embarrassment when you're
Yes,
talking about
yes.
liking Beauty and the Beast or Little Mermaid. And for the record, Beauty and the Beast is my favorite Disney movie of all time. I have no shame now. But Aladdin felt more like, because it's the main character is a boy, I think,
That's
and
true,
it's kind of an action movie. I mean, there's a lot of like,
There's a lot of action.
there's a lot of like,
carpet flying.
there's a lot of like cool action in this movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes. I agree.
I mean, he finds a giant snake at the end with a sword.
Oh my. Yes, and then let's not forget the genie.
Oh, of course. Yeah, and I think this like taps into Robin Williams' influence on my life.
Yeah, probably.
This and Fern Gully. Do you remember Fern Gully? I
Well,
showed
we
you
watched,
Fern Gully.
Yes, how could I forget
Not that long
Fern
ago.
Gully?
I mean, I almost forgot
Did
that we
we
watched
even
it.
like talk? We could have talked about.
That's not a Disney movie.
Oh well. Anyway.
So there's some more behind the scenes on this. I guess I didn't really have to do research because it's all in my brain.
Told you it was in your brain.
There's some more behind the scenes on this. So Robin Williams had done Fern Gully right before this movie. I think they came out the same year. And he basically agreed to do Fern Gully because he really cared about the message of that movie. That movie is a very like environmental friendly movie. Save the rainforests. He was very like into that, so I think he did that for very cheap. Because it's not an expensive movie. And he had such a good experience on Fern Gully that he agreed to do Aladdin under one stipulation.
Okay.
Okay, that the genie would not be used in like any. I think it was like any ancillary marketing after the fact.
What is ancillary?
So like no heavy use of the genie in marketing, no
Oh.
genie toys.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think.
Why? What's his reasoning? Maybe he wants the genie to be free.
They did. I think that
Tied
they
down
didn't
to-
want to use him as like a sales pitch. Essentially, they didn't
yeah.
want to use him as a thing.
Yeah.
But gosh darn it, the genie was just too good in the movie,
He
too
was.
popular. So yeah, you look back at all the products, and the genie's face is just over everything. And Robin Williams is like credited because this was kind of before celebrities really were like named in animation. Like if
Yeah.
you think about like even the movies that came right before this, like Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, like celebrities were not really like used in the marketing of those movies.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the older ones, that wasn't like a selling point. Like you didn't like now you see like commercials for animated movies, and they put like the celebrities' names like in the trailers,
Yeah.
like as a selling point for the movie. Like like Ryan Gosling is, or what's the what is it? Chris Pratt is Super Mario
Oh
Bros.
my gosh. Yeah.
And that is like used as a selling point to
Yeah.
see the movie. That you're essentially casting for celebrity.
I think you're
not
right. Like
casting
back
for
then, it was just
talent.
kind of like the voice actors weren't like.
Yeah, a lot of the people
I
who
didn't know
were a lot of people that were the voice actors in those movies, like Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, were like Broadway stars because they can sing and they can act.
Yeah.
And their voice is a very big part of it. So, casting Robin Williams was almost kind of a stunt thing, but also I think he had a good relationship with Disney at that time. So the fact that it was such a big thing and it was used in the marketing and
Yeah.
people really knew like Robin Williams is the genie, essentially kind of like had a big influence on like voice casting after the fact.
Yeah.
And you look at movies that came after Aladdin, like Mulan, Eddie Murphy being cast in that movie. being like
true,
a big
yeah.
selling point of like, see Eddie Murphy as the dragon in Mulan.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew that that's who that was.
Right, exactly.
So. Nice.
Mhm.
Well, did we want to talk about the overall plot of the movie?
Yeah, absolutely. So we begin on a dark night where a dark man waits.
An Arabian Dark Nights.
Yeah, I guess we could talk about the elephant in the in the room. This movie deals with a culture that is not white
Yeah,
and prominently uses white voice actors.
it's true. Yeah.
So, would it be done today? Obviously not. I mean, they remade this movie and didn't do it the same way.
Yeah.
They kind of went out of their way to say we're not doing it the same way. But it is a movie of its time, so I think it still holds up
I think so
on
too.
those merits.
Yeah.
But yeah, you noted like at the beginning, you were like the first character who comes in is a very merchant, yeah, very Arabian character, and you were like, do you think this is a white man doing an accent? And I was like, babe, that's Robin Williams.
Yeah, you could tell, yeah.
Yeah, which he was actually cast as that character because I think at the end of the movie they were going to come back to that character and it was going to be the genie.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But for some reason they just cut that out. I guess they were just like, the movie's over. We don't need to go back to that guy. The audience has forgotten about that guy anyway.
That's true. Yeah, it has kind of like the beginning of the movie. There's some kind of like dark elements to it, like that whole who disturbs my slumber bit with like the giant lion mouth, like the ominous cave. Something about like that voice.
Kazim dies.
Scary, huh?
Kazim dies.
Kazim, is that the name of the robber?
Yeah, the thief who's the humble thief.
Yes.
Who tries to go into the mouth. Yeah, he ain't alive.
Yeah.
That's a dark way to open your movie.
And Jafar was, I mean, of course, like the Disneys, like they had villains, obviously, back then. But there's always a silly quality to them. Like Jafar was just the way he talked was kind of like
right.
funny.
He's a more intimidating villain, but he does have a funny element.
Yes, and then like I think I told you that in high school, I had a horticulture teacher, which he did not do his job. I did not learn anything about how to grow plants.
I'm so sorry.
I know, I wanted to learn how to grow plants, but instead it was just a bunch of like not FFA, what's it called? The Future Farmers of America. People that were in there, but it was just a blow-off class. But anyway, the teacher, he looked a lot like Jafar.
Oh.
Like he did. He is like those like, yeah, his face, like, I feel okay saying this because I'm not like saying any names. If somebody else is listening and they went to Conway High, then you might see the resemblance of who I'm talking about.
Oh man, I feel like I need to see a picture of this guy.
Oh, I'll try to. I have it in my yearbook somewhere around here. I'm sure I could find him.
He is kind of foppish as well. I think he falls in the category of the male foppish villains.
That's how they did all of them. You realize that, right?
I heard an argument that's like, Jafar is like, oh yeah, I totally want to marry Jasmine. I'm totally not. I totally don't have a crush on this boy with the vest that I'm obsessed with.
Oh my gosh.
Looking at in my crystal ball.
I don't know. You might just be inferring that. Maybe.
Well, sure, but there is like a foppish element to Jafar for sure.
Yeah.
So we have Jafar and Iago, voiced by the late great Gilbert Gottfried. He's passed away this past year.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, very sad. He was a really good guy.
Sad.
Really funny as well. So all the songs were written by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman with Tim Rice. And Howard Ashman actually passed away, I think, a year before this movie was like really into production, but he wrote a lot of the songs that were used in the film. But they're like the, Academy Award winning song lyricists who did Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid, Little Shop of Horrors. So this movie's got their like fingerprints on it, with some great songs.
Nice. Sorry, it's hard doing podcasts at nighttime for me. I just like all the visual elements in this movie. The illustrations, the magic carpet. We talked about how crazy it was that you could tell what it was saying or thinking without having a voice, Or a face,
Yes.
just the way it moves is enough to communicate.
Yeah, it's just a rectangle. And they do so much with just this rectangle.
They do.
The magic of animation. Yeah, I thought that part was all... The Cave of Wonder sequence is really amazing.
Yeah, I was looking at the way that they drew, like, those, like, diamonds and, like, treasure, like... Mm-hmm. It still looks, like, appealing to me. I was like, wow, that looks nice. Like, but who knows the drawing, like...
Yeah, I think that's another,
looks so luscious and...
I think it's another element that appealed to me, is just the Indiana Jones nature of it all.
Yes.
Of discovering this hidden cave
too.
with all this treasure.
And I noticed, like, an actual, like, art history element in it. I should have looked it up, but it was, like, a piece of really early Assyrian art.
Mm-hmm.
It was, like, this head bust with, like, whatever that, like, hat thing is that they wore, and it had... like an Egyptian chin thing, and then like wings on the side of it. Oh gosh, I'll have to find what that was. It's like an old art. If you have an art history book, it's like one of the first things in there. But I was like, hey, cool, they incorporated that in the cave.
Yeah, it's probably a little Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that probably didn't hold up a little bit was as they're exiting the cave, as they're like doing their fast like fly through. There's some like CGI in there. It's like
I saw
little
that.
dated, very 1992. Like, you hear, like, Aladdin being like, whoa!
I mean, when we watched it back then, I didn't notice.
Oh, no, it looked amazing on VHS.
Yeah, but I mean...
In 1992, those were some state-of-the-art graphics.
It was.
Those were some...
I'm sure that was something they were proud of.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, then we're introduced to... I was surprised at how long into the movie we're introduced to the genie. It's not till, like, 30 minutes into the movie that we're introduced to the genie and the Friend Like Me song, which is probably the part of the movie I've seen the most. I think I saw a sing-along, that just had that song on it, so I probably, like, watched that 100 times.
It's a good song.
Yeah, it's really great. And it's still really funny. Like, so much of his... Like, a lot of his jokes are pop culture references, which don't usually tend to hold up as well in, like, the realm of comedy.
Yeah.
I still think a lot of it really holds up and is really funny.
I think so, too. It was funny.
Yeah. That's another thing I think this movie is sort of introducing into not just Disney, but into like sort of the genre of animation of kids movies, is that element of pop culture references. That's something that like DreamWorks would go on to really embrace. This idea of like breaking the fourth wall and making sort of like references that only the adults in the audience are gonna know. Because I didn't know who Rodney Dangerfield was when I was 4.
I didn't know who Jack Nicholson was either.
Right, but they're funny now.
Yeah.
For sure. What's your favorite song in the movie?
Ooh, I mean, I feel like just the one that everybody gravitates toward too is the "I Can Show You the World."
A Whole New World. Yeah. Yeah. I remember my mom loved that song. Like, we would listen to it all the time.
Yeah, it was the one that like me and my friends we would play and all sing along to.
It's great. It's probably one of the more romantic scenes in a Disney movie too. Like, so many, like the Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid that came before this. Like, so much of those movies are like the two people are separated. They don't really come together until the end. They don't really come together at the end.
Little Mermaid has like one romantic date where it's like they're on the water and the
but
frogs.
There's a wall between them. They can't.
The frogs start saying, "Oh, you're right." Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that is a really romantic scene.
Like, kiss the girl and like at the willow tree in the water.
Wow.
But then it gets disturbed. Yeah. Like the Aladdin one,
Aladdin's like together. A full-on romantic date.
Yeah. Holding
hands. Did you see the Will Smith remake? I'm just calling it the Will Smith
remake. No,
I
did not. I did not.
I think I did watch it. I like half watched it and half was on my phone during the movie. Because it was just so bad.
Not that great.
No, it was so boring. And they tried to like hit beat for beat. The same. It's the same beat for beat as the cartoon. It's just
that's what they do with the live action ones.
Just
pretty
not
much.
As engaging.
Yeah.
Because it's live action and you just can't be as imaginative. The Prince Ali song is really fun.
Prince Ali. Yeah, I like that one too.
I was cracking up at when Jafar sings his version of Prince Ali at the ending. So Prince Ali turns out to be a legend.
The villain really song, it up. The villain songs are always the best.
It's true, yeah. He only gets like a little half song though. It's not like a full real number.
Right.
I noticed kind of some plot holes though. I'm gonna point out some plot holes. Well,
Okay.
maybe not plot holes. Things that bothered me, even when I was a kid, these things would bother me.
Okay, what were they?
So a big like conundrum in the third act is that Aladdin is like, I can't be Sultan. Mm-hmm. The Sultan tells him like, you're gonna be Sultan after you get married.
Yeah.
He's like, Sultan? I can't be Sultan. And it's like, why? Why can't he be Sultan?
He doesn't want to have to make decisions and stuff, babe.
Well, I guess.
That's why. He's like, oh, I have to run the country. I can't just, like, marry the girl.
Well, that really, I guess, is short-sighted on his part, then. He really didn't think this through.
Yeah, he didn't.
But he uses an excuse to not free the genie. So in his mind, he's like, I can't be Sultan if I free the genie. I need him to help me be Sultan, I guess. Or keep up the charade.
Yeah, because if he doesn't have the genie anymore, it's basically, like, I don't know if, like, the wishes disappear or something, because like whenever Jafar was turned into the genie himself at the end, his other wishes that he made for like, or I guess the stuff he did with his powers as the sorcerer, like that all vanished.
Yeah. Yeah, everything kind of gets just undone when he finishes his wishes.
It's like the genie stuff is all just kind of a mirage the whole time.
Right. Because what does the genie really do? When
When
Aladdin wishes to be a sultan or to be a prince, what does the genie really do? He basically like just changes his clothes,
basically,
and gives him an entourage.
Basically.
So I don't know. At some point, Aladdin's got to know that they're going to maybe try to do a background check. Or maybe they didn't do background checks back then.
He was like, so what country did you say you were? Like, Sultan. He's like, oh, you've probably never heard of it. He's like, try me.
Well, I mean, Jasmine does agree to marry him after one date. So apparently none of that is really very important.
She had, like, never met anybody before. She'd been in the castle the whole time. Well, I guess she had the suitors, but...
Yeah. I mean, are they really in love, or is he just
him.
the first person her age that she's ever met?
Probably.
She doesn't seem to have any siblings.
No.
There don't seem to be many people in this castle either. I was thinking about that in the scene where Jafar and Iago are sort of plotting their plan.
I think it's just was hard for them to animate a bunch of extra people, because like the market scene and when they're in town, I'm like, there's no like background people.
It actually really was. I thought about that. Towards the end when it's right before things go south. It's when Aladdin has to like go in front of that audience. Remember that scene where he's like has to go in front of the audience? There's like a quick shot of like an out of focus crowd in the background.
Yeah.
That's because they literally couldn't animate crowds. It was literally just like too much. So it's very like sort of abstract where you just see like kind of dots and very kind of out of focus in the background. So we'll note this whenever we watch Hunchback of Notre Dame. that's when they really started to do crowd animation, and we're using the computer for that kind of thing. So there's a lot of like CGI crowds in Hunchback of Notre Dame. Some that look really good and some that don't.
It's funny. Yeah, we need to rewatch that. It's been a while since I've seen that. That's one of
my favorite ones. I like
them. Okay, we'll have to do that next then.
Maybe sometime soon.
Yeah. Do we have any closing thoughts about Aladdin?
It's just really darn good. I mean,
it's good.
I was kind of thinking maybe this wouldn't, going into it, maybe it wouldn't hold up as well as I thought it did.
It's good. Yeah,
but
I mean, I watched the whole time. I didn't really like play on my phone or anything. I don't think I did.
Nope. I loved this one as a kid, and I still love it now. So I think it's one that really holds up that I can throw on just about any time. And it's just wildly entertaining as a movie. Have you ever seen any of the sequels?
I think I saw
it's got multiple sequels and a TV show.
I think it's like one sequel. Was it Prince of Thieves? What's the second one?
So the second one is Return of Jafar.
Oh, okay.
I had that one on VHS, and I liked that one when I was a kid. It does not hold up now.
Is there one about like thieves or something?
That's the third one, yeah. Prince of Thieves, I think, is the third one. Is that the one?
I just remember there's one where it was something like Open Sesame. Or
yes.
Like,
yeah.
Because as a kid, I was confused by that phrase. I was like, sesame, like a sesame seed? And then it says me, like...
Open Sesame.
Yeah, is that what it is?
No, that's from the Looney Tunes.
I was like, I never really knew what it meant. Like, what in the world?
I don't know. We'll have to Google it. Yeah, so in the second one, Robin Williams did not return as the genie. because he was pissed off at Disney for sort of breaking their contract.
Yeah.
He did come back for the third one. They had made up by then. Even though it was a straight-to-video movie, I guess Robin Williams decided to lower himself and be in the third one. The third one kind of holds up. It's kind of fun. There's like, maybe we'll watch it at some point.
Can we watch it as like a daytime in the background kind of thing?
Maybe. We should watch actually the second and the third one. Just go whole hog on it. To get the full, because the third one they get married. That's like
finally
like a full
that's
story.
a long time to
I know, right? But yeah, the third one is about Aladdin's dad, and he's part of these guild of thieves, and there's
I did see
treasure.
that one. Yeah,
that one's a lot of fun. There was also a TV show that was on the Disney Channel that I have seen maybe a few episodes of. I remember liking it when I was a
hearing
kid.
about it, but yeah, I didn't get the Disney Channel.
Yeah. I wonder how they did that show, because it just seems like any sort of conflict that you could come up against, the genie could just solve everything. So Open Sesame comes from the story of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, in which Ali Baba uses the magic command Open Sesame to open the door of the thieves' cave.
I bet the Beastie Boys know all about that.
It doesn't say where the phrase originates. I think it's just like abracadabra. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Origin. Sesame seeds grow in a seed pod.
I knew it.
Splits open and reach maturity.
It's sesame seeds.
The phrase possibly alludes to unlocking of treasures, because sesame seeds split open as they reach maturity.
Okay.
Although it is not certain that the word sesame actually refers to the sesame plant or seed. There's theories. I love it when something isn't definite. There's theories. You're like,
You're making
this
last a lot longer than it
You're
should.
like, I'm done. Okay, I'm done.
It's fine.
I'm done too.
Okay, any parting words? I feel like I started the parting words earlier, and then you went off on the sesame thing.
Oh, I think I was just going to
Maybe
note that the second one is probably entertaining just because Robin Williams is not the genie. It's Homer Simpson instead.
Oh my gosh.
Doing a Robin Williams impression.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
I
great.
might have to see that.
We'll see how long you get before you're just like, turn it off. I can't.
The cringe.
All right. Well, we'll join you next time, and hopefully we'll have tea.
Yes. It might get me some right after this, actually.
I think this is just a failed attempt, because as soon as that we said that we weren't having tea, I'm sure they immediately turned the podcast off.
They might have, yeah.